A fair question today. How is that bracket of yours looking? Arguably 3/4 okay, but probably not all the way after a wild Sunday of a Sweet 16 and Elite 8 that we will be speaking about for some time. Your Final Four is now finally set. Villanova, yeah, sure. A lot of people, sure. Oklahoma, yeah. North Carolina, a 1 seed. And Syracuse, unexpectedly, 1 top seed, of course, the Tar Heels able to survive the Elite 8. Here to break it all down, Dana Jacobson of CBS Sports Network, yet another person who's probably lying today and saying, I had Syracuse.
No, I only had Oklahoma.
Yeah,
that was it.
seriously.
I had Michigan State winning it all.
Welcome to the
over
party.
Kansas. Yeah,
Welcome
that's not happening.
You got a great game there between North Carolina and Notre Dame, all overshadowed, though, by what had happened preceding it. Syracuse, done, gone. Virginia looking every bit the 1 seed and the powerful 1 seed they'd been. And then lightning struck.
Got to be able to score. Got to be able to score, and that's what Syracuse proved. And I had Syracuse the first weekend, so I got to see them in some pretty impressive wins where they did what we saw last night. Second half taking control. That zone defense, that famous Jim Boeheim defense, and his knowing when to sort of adjust out of that zone. He has a team right now that is his typical length and size, but some guys playing at different positions. And I think he has them believing that it is them against the world, and this idea that nobody thought they could be there. Michael Benajay is their star. You saw it from him last night, but he's got some youth and Malachi Richardson that really he has great scoring potential in some of these guys and great rebounders, and that was a key to them coming back in that one also.
You know, you mentioned a lot of people, it's not just not having Syracuse this far. A lot of people to this day, to this hour, will tell you they didn't belong in the tournament. They were lucky to be involved at all. Here they are, and you know, Kenny Smith on the broadcast said something very interesting last night, that when you speed Virginia up, what was interesting was, however veteran a team last night, the Cavaliers were not able to slow themselves back down. You really saw a team that was still, however disastrously, trying to execute its offense in the last 3 minutes of a game when they just needed shots.
Don't you think this time of year, this is when, it's not a series, it's one game. So you don't have to be the better team. Virginia is the better team. Syracuse played a better game, and that's what it comes down to. It's why it's so exciting, and we love it so much.
I would just say, Dana, we are in an American newsroom.
I know.
So
a lot of Syracuse.
The volleys will be coming over the shoulder.
I said, watch out for North Carolina this morning. I was talking. That's my team after watching them, especially and seeing them live. I don't see somebody stopping them if they keep playing the way they have. And it was, getting darts from all the orange that are around here.
Meanwhile, they'll tell you, hey, here we go. Reason dictates, however, that the run has to stop. At the game we saw last night that you were a part of, Carolina and Notre Dame, Carolina looking every bit the 1 seed as well, especially there in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think what Carolina has over every other team is the depth and the size and speed. How does that happen? They can go small and they're still bigger than you, and they can run. And they use that defense so well. It's what we saw. Notre Dame took a 1-point lead in the second half, came back from, I think they were 11 down, came back, took a 1-point lead. Carolina just clamped down defensively, got a stop, hit the boards. I think they doubled them in rebounding, and certainly on the offensive glass they were doing better. And that just sparked that offense for them. Then they were able to get out and run, and Notre Dame had no answer for it.
We're also seeing, especially with North Carolina, upperclassmen, the Marcus Pages, the Bryce Johnsons. We're seeing the impact of guys that stick around long enough to not be bowed by a really talented 18-year-old kid.
That, by the way, is kind of across the board. Maybe not Oklahoma so much, but Villanova has that sort of that team mentality and older guys. Even Syracuse, you've got a Cooney there who obviously is a leader, and Benajay. And that's huge on this Carolina team. Marcus Page right now is playing much better than Marcus Page was earlier in the season. He wants this. There's a difference in this. And Bryce Johnson, watching him in person, he's a pogo stick. We kept saying it in the telecast last night. He gets up so high on those rebounds, and you go back to, they may not have been here before. They haven't been able to get to the Final Four, but they have that in-game experience of years of playing together. They know where their teammate is, and there's a trust factor. That trust factor has been so huge in these teams that are moving on. And you're right, we don't see it anymore. We're used to the one and dones. It doesn't necessarily work to have all the talent. You've got to have the teamwork.
So Roy Williams again has Carolina back in the Final Four for the first time since '09, the last time they won a title. We talk about seniors, and you mentioned Oklahoma. If you want one senior in the country, perhaps, it's probably Buddy Hield at this point, looking ever the genius for not entering the NBA draft as he considered doing a year ago, and now has Oklahoma, after a dominant performance against Oregon, on the brink?
8 threes, 37 points. He was, if you didn't vote for him for Player of the Year, you're smacking yourself right now, because that's what he did. And he, I do think it's fair to say that at times he was carrying this team this season. If he's not carrying them, he's sparking them, because we know he's got teammates who can do something, but he is the flow of their game. And if Buddy isn't in the flow, you sort of don't see somebody like Isaiah Cousins take over the game necessarily. I think they had a few this year, like memory serves, but Buddy's got to be on, and he has that ability.
It's going to be a fascinating game. Oklahoma will be matching up again against Villanova, who took down Kansas in equally dominating fashion. And maybe for those of us on the fence, when you saw Jay Wright hug Arcidiacono after essentially his avatar on the court, you see a team in Villanova maybe that has a lot of these intangibles that we like to cling to this time.
I could give you they are the Patriots. When you talk about the Patriots being team and it's the team first, that is certainly Villanova. I had Villanova last year in the tournament, the first weekend, when they lost and there was no way they shouldn't lose. They came back hungrier. Ryan Arcidiacono has been the key motivator and Buddy healed for them, essentially, while he's been with that team.
And a kid who lived and breathed, grew up in Villanova, has bled Wildcat Blue his entire life.
And that's the incredible thing to watch. Jay Wright is one of those coaches, like, in the sports profession, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find somebody who's not saying they're glad to see him there. He loves his kids. I mean, they all do. It's probably not fair to say. Roy loves his kids. Jim loves his kids. I get that. Lon loves his kids.
It's just,
there's something about it, and maybe it's because he wants it so badly for him, but it's the best time of year.
Yeah, and for those of us of a certain vintage, we can think back to Nova's past and how wonderful it was. If recent history of this year tells us anything, it's going to be a wild Final Four.
We don't know who's going to win.
We don't know nothing. Just
that was an orange dart,
Dana Jacobson of CBS Sports, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And best of luck with the bracket, however busted.
Thanks.